Maya Johnson walked through the crowded hallways of Riverside High School with her head held high. At 16, she was known for her brilliant smile, honor roll grades, and determination to become a doctor someday. Her natural hair was styled in beautiful braids that caught the morning sunlight streaming through the school windows. The lunch bell rang at exactly 12:15, and Maya made her way to the cafeteria with her best friend, Lisa Chen. The smell of cafeteria food filled the air as hundreds of students lined up for their meals. Maya grabbed a tray and moved slowly through the lunch line, chatting with Lisa about their upcoming chemistry test. Behind the serving counter stood Mrs. Carson, a woman in her 50s with graying hair pulled back in a tight bun. Her cold blue eyes seemed to follow certain students with obvious disdain. Maya had noticed this pattern before. Mrs. Carson always seemed friendly and generous with white students, piling extra food on their plates with warm smiles. But when black students approached, her demeanor changed completely. Next, Mrs. Carson called out in a flat tone as Maya approached the counter. Maya smiled politely. "Hi, Mrs. Carson. Could I have the chicken sandwich and some fries, please?" Mrs. Carson looked Maya up and down with barely concealed irritation. Without saying a word, she reached toward the back of the warming tray where the food had been sitting the longest. She grabbed a chicken sandwich that was clearly past its prime, the bread soggy and the edges curling with what looked like green mold spots. "Here you go," Mrs. Carson said, practically throwing the sandwich onto Maya's plate. Maya stared at the moldy sandwich in disbelief. The green fuzzy spots were clearly visible, and the smell was rancid. Students behind her in line began to whisper and point. "Excuse me, Mrs. Carson, but this sandwich has mold on it," Maya said quietly, trying to remain respectful. Mrs. Carson's face twisted into an ugly sneer. "That's what you people get. If you don't like it, don't eat it." The cafeteria seemed to go silent around them. Students stopped their conversations and turned to stare. Maya felt her cheeks burning with embarrassment and anger, but she kept her voice steady. "Could I please have a fresh sandwich? This one is clearly spoiled." "Take it or leave it," Mrs. Carson replied coldly, already turning toward the next student. Maya's hands trembled as she carried the moldy sandwich away from the lunch line. She couldn't eat it, couldn't even look at it without feeling sick. Lisa walked beside her, equally shocked by what they had witnessed. "Maya, you have to report this," Lisa whispered urgently. "That was completely wrong." Without hesitation, Maya marched straight to the principal's office. Mr. Thompson, a tall man with kind eyes and graying temples, looked up from his paperwork as Maya knocked on his open door. "Maya, what can I do for you?" he asked, gesturing for her to sit down. Maya placed the moldy sandwich on his desk. "Mrs. Carson gave me this for lunch today, Mr. Thompson. When I asked for a fresh one, she said, 'That's what you people get.'" Mr. Thompson's expression grew serious as he examined the clearly spoiled food. "This is completely unacceptable, Maya. I'll speak with Mrs. Carson immediately." Within minutes, Mrs. Carson was called to the office. She entered with her usual scowl, looking annoyed at being interrupted. "Mrs. Carson, Maya has reported that you served her moldy food and made inappropriate comments. Can you explain what happened?" Mr. Thompson asked calmly. Mrs. Carson crossed her arms defensively. "I don't know what she's talking about. That girl is always causing trouble. These people come in here expecting special treatment, and when they don't get it, they make up stories." Maya's jaw dropped at the blatant lie and additional racist comment. Mr. Thompson's face hardened. "Mrs. Carson, your language is completely inappropriate and unprofessional." "I'm just telling the truth," Mrs. Carson snapped. "Some of these kids need to learn their place." Before Mr. Thompson could respond, there was another knock at the door. Jake Miller, a popular white student from Maya's grade, stepped in nervously. "Excuse me, Mr. Thompson, but I saw what happened in the cafeteria. Mrs. Carson definitely gave Maya moldy food on purpose, and she said exactly what Maya reported." 3 more students appeared behind Jake, all nodding in agreement. They had witnessed the entire incident and were willing to speak up. "Thank you all for coming forward," Mr. Thompson said. "I'll be reviewing the security camera footage from the cafeteria as well." Later that afternoon, Maya's Aunt Gloria Washington arrived at the school. Gloria was a well-known community activist who had fought against discrimination for decades. Her presence commanded respect, and her voice carried the weight of experience. "Mr. Thompson," Gloria said firmly, "this incident goes beyond one bad sandwich. This is about systemic racism in your school, and it needs to be addressed immediately." The security footage confirmed everything. The cameras clearly showed Mrs. Carson deliberately selecting the moldy sandwich for Maya while serving fresh food to white students before and after her. "We have all the evidence we need," Mr. Thompson assured Gloria and Maya. "Mrs. Carson will face serious consequences for her actions." The very next morning, as Mrs. Carson arrived for her shift, she noticed an unfamiliar car in the school parking lot. A woman in a crisp white coat stepped out, carrying a clipboard and official badges. "Good morning, I'm Inspector Rodriguez from the County Health Department," the woman announced as she approached the cafeteria entrance. "We received an anonymous tip about food safety violations. This is a surprise inspection." Mrs. Carson's face went pale. She fumbled with her keys, trying to appear calm. "Everything is fine here. We follow all the rules." Inspector Rodriguez spent the next 2 hours examining every corner of the kitchen. What she found was shocking. Expired milk sat in the refrigerator, 3 days past its date. Chicken stored at unsafe temperatures. Prep surfaces covered with dried food residue. The bread storage area showed clear signs of mold contamination. "Mrs. Carson, these violations are severe," Inspector Rodriguez said, writing furiously on her clipboard. "I'm issuing multiple citations, and this kitchen will be shut down until these issues are corrected." While the health inspection was happening, Maya's story began spreading through social media. Students had recorded videos of the incident, and soon the hashtag #SaveMaya was trending locally. Jake Miller's older brother, who worked at the local newspaper, picked up the story. Within hours, reporters were calling the school for comments, but the biggest shock came when a parent, scrolling through Facebook, recognized Mrs. Carson's name. She had found Mrs. Carson's social media profile, which was filled with racist posts and hateful comments about minority students. Screenshots of the posts spread like wildfire. One post read, "These kids need to know their place. I make sure they get what they deserve at lunchtime." Another showed Mrs. Carson complaining about having to serve those people every day. The local news station picked up the story that evening. Riverside High School lunch worker under fire for racist treatment of student, the headline read, "Community members began calling the school in support of Maya." The NAACP offered legal assistance. Local restaurants volunteered to provide free meals for students. Mrs. Carson watched the news coverage from her living room, realizing that her years of discrimination had finally caught up with her. The anonymous tip to the health department, the social media exposure, the witness testimonies, everything was crashing down at once. Justice was moving swiftly, and there was no escape from the consequences of her actions. By Friday morning, Mrs. Carson's employment at Riverside High School was officially terminated. The school board held an emergency meeting and voted unanimously to dismiss her immediately. The health department violations, witness testimonies, security footage, and racist social media posts created an overwhelming case against her. Effective immediately, Mrs. Carson is no longer employed by this district, Superintendent Williams announced at a press conference. "We have zero tolerance for discrimination and will not allow any employee to treat our students with such disrespect." Legal consequences followed quickly. The district attorney's office filed charges for violating civil rights laws. Mrs. Carson also faced potential lawsuits from other families whose children had experienced similar treatment over the years. Meanwhile, something beautiful was happening for Maya. The community's outrage had transformed into overwhelming support. Local business owners, church groups, and civic organizations came together to establish the Maya Johnson Scholarship Fund. "This young woman showed incredible courage in standing up for herself," said Pastor Williams at the community meeting. "We want to make sure she has every opportunity to achieve her dreams of becoming a doctor." Within a week, the scholarship fund had raised over $50,000 for Maya's college education. Universities from across the state began reaching out, offering her admission and additional financial support. Mr. Thompson worked with the school board to implement new policies. All cafeteria workers would receive mandatory sensitivity training. Security cameras were upgraded with better angles to monitor serving areas. A new anonymous reporting system was established for students to report discrimination. "These changes ensure that what happened to Maya will never happen again," Mr. Thompson promised at the next school assembly. Maya stood before her classmates, no longer the embarrassed girl from the lunch line. She was empowered, supported, and determined. "I never expected this attention," Maya said, her voice strong and clear. "But I'm grateful that speaking up has created positive change. No student should ever be treated differently because of their race." The community celebration took place at the school gymnasium the following Saturday. Hundreds of supporters gathered to honor Maya's courage and celebrate the victory over discrimination. As Maya looked around at the diverse crowd of faces, all united in support of justice, she felt hopeful about the future. Sometimes standing up for what's right leads to consequences far greater than anyone could expect. Mrs. Carson's moment of cruelty had backfired completely, creating a powerful movement for equality and respect. Justice had been served, and Maya's future had never looked brighter.